took the numbers that he gave me, and I used this circular arrangement. You can see here, I used the same circular arrangement. This is called Fuzi's arrangement, or the earlier heaven sequence, which is what I used for the game Gua. Now, see, this one was long lasting, alternates to great exceeding, and oops. And I wanted to do this to show you guys a little bit about the I Ching and why I chose these characters to represent these Gua in the circular arrangement. So this first one, his lower one here, was Wind, which I've represented by Dr. Halsey, and the upper one he chose was Thunder, represented by Captain Keyes, and then the moving line was the one at the 5th place, which is one in the center of the upper Gua, which means that this one, Captain Keyes, at Thunder, alternates to Lake, or the Grave Mind. That one's called Great Exceeding. So the fortune he got was Long Lasting, which is the original hexagram made of the 2 trigrams, the lower and the upper, alternating to a separate one. You change one line in there and it changes the whole one, the whole hexagram. And it works, this method is one of, like, I don't know, about half a dozen methods of performing divinations. But just as an example to show you how these characters interact with it, the upper Gua, in this case, is Captain Keyes, following the lower Gua, Dr. Halsey. That creates the image of long lasting. To me, if you guys know the story of Halo and know the books, the first book, The Fall of Reach, it starts with Captain Keyes. He's been assigned to escort Dr. Halsey while she's finding the candidates for the Spartan 2 program. And the first one they meet is John, later becomes the Master Chief. And boy, and it's just funny. I've done this a few times, and every time with these characters, it always works out. So that's why I want you guys, for the next one, get a 6-sided die, or just pick 3 numbers and put them in the chat, and I'll show you how these squads work out in such a way. So in this particular one, like I said, Thunder following Wind, or also called Wood, creates the image of long lasting, and the Spartan 2 program was the most successful Spartan program that they ended up doing, and it was because of the Spartan 2 program that the Spartan 3s and Spartan 4 programs were even possible. The Spartan 1 program, he didn't quite work out so well. Didn't last too long, let's say. But yeah, that's how the actual starting point for this whole franchise that has lasted, about 10 years now. And of course that even in the context of the story, just this initial encounter between Halsey and Captain Keyes, so much of the story spawns from that continues throughout the entire storyline. Especially, all these characters are chosen from the Master Chief collection. I don't necessarily have to get into the details of what goes on in the books, because I know a lot of people haven't read the books. But if you have the Master Chief Collection, or if you have an Xbox One and you're looking for a game to get, I recommend that game, Master Chief Collection, and go through the campaign, and learn about these characters, and then come back and read what it says here. These descriptions that I have for each of the Guad, those descriptions don't necessarily reflect the characters that I've chosen here. Those represent the actual Gua themselves, or the actual Trigrands themselves. And also, I did not write those. I got those descriptions out of a different book called The Numerology of the I Ching. It's sort of another volume of this book that was written by the same person who made this translation. This is the complete I Ching, the definitive translation by Taoist master Alfred Huang. This, I think, is the best-selling translation here in America. Very thorough, very well done. An excellent reference book. I'll talk a lot more about the I Ching. There's a good chance that'll be at least partially the subject in next week's broadcast. But in the meantime, go out there, find yourself a six-sided die. If you show up for the next broadcast, I'll read your fortune too. Just all you have to do is just pick two numbers, and then for each number you go through on the circular arrangement that you can find here on the channel, and you just count. Start with the top one, which is heaven. You count clockwise until if it's a number like 10, something over 8, you just keep counting until you get to that number, and it works every time. You do that twice to come up with the hexagram, and then you roll a six-sided die, and that will tell you which of the 6 lines in the hexagram is going to be the one that's moving. Did anyone bother?
Nah, not really.
No, I didn't really think, though. I think they would. I kind of just did that to see. But yeah, eventually I'm going to explain this confusing jumble of nonsense that I took the time to write down on my personal Twitch channel. And it's some crap that you won't find anywhere else. But I just wanted to start with this week's broadcast about the art of war, to get people introduced to the idea of using these ancient texts, and then finding ways to apply to them in video games. I find the I Ching to be much more applicable to the average, video game, or really to just really any game, and the average gamer, I should say, but for a whole other set of reasons than the art of war. But yeah, both books very, very informative, very good to read. I think that's about it for this week's broadcast. I actually went a little bit over the time limit again. So,
we're late again, Bullwinkle.
So anyway, yeah, thank you all very much, those of you who decided to come in and watch the chat and watch the channel. This is our third weekly broadcast of the show that I'm, for lack of a better title, calling Alaskan. There's some history behind that name, but I don't have time to explain it right now. We'll get into it next week. So yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys then. Thanks for stopping by.